Hi there, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of An Engineer's Guide to HellLetLoose. Today we are taking a look at Bizory-Foy Road on the Foy map and thinking about how we might build to hold this point as American defenders. Here's our 2D paper map of the Foy map. The red X I've drawn from you here is the capable sector for Bizory-Foy Road. Notice that the hard cap or the strong point is offset to the right in this zone. And while I'll elaborate on this a bit when we go back into the game, it really is this set of forests down here in the bottom right-hand corner that is going to control the fate of Bizory-Foy Road. A lot of times the defenders need to stack their spawns over here, and the attackers know that, and so they're going to try to work their way into the forest back here to shut down those spawns. So it's something you need to be cognizant of. Not everything has an engineering solution, and I'm afraid this might be one of those where there isn't an easy engineering solution to holding Bizory-Foy Road, but there are some things you can do to cut down other easy avenues of attack into this hard game. All right, we're back in admin camp, and we're looking at Bizory-Foy Road. We're looking at it from Southern Edge, which is one of the 3 center caps that might be in play when this map comes up. We want to put ourselves in the attacker's shoes to think about what are the paths of least resistance, what are the easiest attack routes in, and we want to try to deny those while hopefully the rest of the team is doing their job. So from Southern Edge, if we're going to push out to the west, not much new is going to render in as we go forward. There's a lot of hovels out there. There are some of these snowbanks that are less generous forms of cover and concealment for infantry than the hedges that we find on some of the French maps. There's a reason why Foy is known as generally armor-friendly map. It's got a lot of open terrain. It's pretty flat. And so a push to the west to try to flank Bizory-Foy Road, it's likely not going to work unless you get to that big old tree line way back there. But likely the Allies are going to have some armor stationed in front of there or some MGs in that tree line if they know what they're doing. And that's just going to be a very difficult attack. If the western door isn't open, maybe the eastern door is. You can see here we are quite a ways over. And it's largely the same story, slightly different. There is the snowbank that runs along this road. We have a broken house and a screen of trees, another screen of trees, another busted building. And if the attackers make it to this point, that is the hard cap of Bizory-Foy Road. They're not quite to it, but they're close enough that they can kill the defenders who are in it. Really, the best case scenario for the Axis here is that they find a way into the woods that are back here. Remember, if the Axis controls one of these 3 center caps, that means they can place red zone Garys and regular OPs all the way back in the woods here. And what they're going to know or suspect is that the Allies are going to have spawns over here, and they're going to move to wipe these spawns, and then it's just a matter of time before Axis artillery, and armor, and just infantry kill the remaining defenders in the hard cap. They may not even need to capture the hard cap to take the point. The final way in is also viable. If the indirect methods of going around don't work, there is a path straight in from Southern Edge, and it's mostly going to rely on being on the east side of the road, but you have buildings and screen of trees, a trench, another screen of trees. There is this little lip right here before you get to a screen of trees, a trench, and the final screen that puts you right on the doorstep of the hard cap for Bizory-Foy Road. So we got to keep all that in mind as an engineer and make the most of what we have available to us. As the engineer might sense is, there's not going to be much for you to do on the west side. This is something that armor and friendly MGs and rifles have to deal with, that big open terrain. Maybe a defensive recon team. That's for them. Your concern is going to be frustrating the direct attack from the north and also complicating an attack that comes from the northeast, east. This kind of broken snowbank here is pretty much the edge of the soft cap for Bizory-Foy Road, and it is very, very close to the hard cap. And when it comes to fortifications, that area is going to figure prominently. I'll talk about some of the other places you might think about building, and if you can make it work, then go ahead and report that success. One temptation is to build out into this first screen of trees, because if you're able to build out fortifications here and link them with what is already here, yeah, you are right on the verge of the southern edge capable zone, so you could keep the enemy from getting into even the soft cap of Bizory-Foy from the north. The problem of overbuilding this section, even if you made it close to impenetrable in and of itself, is that the avenues around the side are still open to you. And the other thing to consider, if you're playing this map from the beginning, and your team, and say you do roll southern edge, which for whatever reason seems like it is rolled very frequently, but I'm digressing, you're going to be building on the front lines. And it's a little bit further to drive to your resupply point. But because it's easy for defenders, if they find that this is too strong to take, they can simply just move around it. And then you're going to be getting shot in the backside, or you're just not going to have any attackers who have waltzed into your perfectly laid constructions, and then you're not really doing anything. The other place you might think about building is building in front of these trenches here near the Bizory-Foy hard cap. We get down to about the level of the player. You can see why this might be good. Having barricades and bunkers in front of those trenches add to their utility, and it ensures that you're able to cut off this west side approach to enemy infantry, and you have a spot to shoot back into the side of attackers. My recommendation is that the first thing you do, if you can get a friendly supply drop of just 50 supplies, is you build at least the 4 strands of barbed wire, cutting off most, but leaving a gap for friendly infantry to move through into this screen of trees before they get to this trench. I would also recommend complementing that with at least one of your hedgehogs, maybe putting the other in the road if friendly armor isn't going to push up through it, and friendly armor doesn't really need to. This might also be the place for some AT mines, so the hedgehog in the middle of the road, AT mines on either side. It's going to be obvious to the other side's armor what you're doing, but that's okay. I would use all your anti-personnel mines in this trench, and I would have that done first, because it's possible that you're not going to have a supply truck ready yet, and that's going to be closer to the enemy when they're going to be engaged in fighting over the center cap. The big constructions, I think, should take place here on this eastern side of the hard cap. We are very close to the hard cap. I generally don't recommend building in the hard cap, but I think this map, it makes sense to do that. You could use all your barricades and your bunker, and the good news is it is just down that road to resupply. It's got to be one of the shortest resupply routes in all of HellLetLoose, and there's going to be big demand for those supplies. But the reason why I'd recommend building here on a line that the barricades might start with this wood pile, the bunker, some more barricades, and we're building them tall, it's to remove the sight lines that armor, MG, snipers, riflemen are going to have coming from that northeast. It also defends the soft cap. It also allows you to overlook this field and push the attackers even further to the east if they want to make it into this wood line back here. The rest of your team, I don't think that there's an engineering solution to defending this tree line. I don't think putting more barricades and more bunkers is necessarily going to do it. And if you're building too far away and incentivizing a squad to sit over here, they're not going to be pushing the hard cap. By building up the bunkers and the barricades here, friendlies can still spawn in those woods, and they have a direct path into the hard cap. If it's not here, enemy armor, heck, an AT gun, MGs, they can just spray your friendlies as they're running to the hard cap, effectively shutting down your spawns before they actually get their guys back there to shut down your spawns. But the defense of those woods has to fall to infantry. It's too broken terrain. I don't even think you and a few other engineers could build enough to keep all the attackers out. And you don't want to spend too much time doing this. Right? You want to keep it simple, stupid. And so that's what these fortifications would do, but they're serving the very real purpose of protecting your route from spawn to the hard cap, and also complicating maybe the most profitable, if not the second most profitable, avenue of attack for enemy infantry. Because friendly armor should be holding the west side, and you do have the ability to help them out, if time permits and supplies permit, I'd say go ahead and throw a repair station behind that busted building. If they run into danger, it's not that far to come over and repair. And if you've built your barricades and bunkers pretty good, it should be tough for any enemy armor that is sitting over there to get easy shots on them. And once they're repaired, they can go back out and continue the defense of the west side. All right, folks, for those of you who are kind of struggling with defending Bizory-Foy Road, I'll tell you, it is a tough point to defend. And getting defenders to hold these woods well is not always self-evident until you're up in this view. But once you're up here, you see that is the key to this point. And hopefully that gives you some idea for how to better hold this.